Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I know it's a different day, different time for me. I know my East Coast people. Sorry, I'm just getting all the alerts from going live. My fault. Let me quit getting distracted. But was it my East Coast shorties pushed the Chrome 740? My West Coast girls pushed the Bentley and the Twirl. I know my West Coast people. I know they are not up. But good morning to y'all, East Coast folks, man. Good morning. I know it's a lot of y'all probably on your way to church if you still do church. But I know I wanted to, a long time ago, I had this idea about, before I started YouTube, I was thinking about doing YouTube, and I had like different channel ideas. And one of them was going to be a religiosophy, my merging of religion and philosophy. And one of the series was going to be Unchurched. So that was going to be a lot of us who have come out of church, but again, we missed some of the aspects of it, or we're losing some of the different things that we got from church because we left because of some of the shady folks. But let me go through the chat real quick. I come from the chat. I got to go back to the chat. So we had JPV Matriarch, got the first pew. Definitely appreciate you for being here this morning. We got him versus her solutions. That is AR. Religion is effective, but the people aren't. And you already on top of it, brother. Yes, we are. Yes. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Peace to you, JP. Got to get the hearts up. Get the hearts up, people. Get the hearts up. Forget the likes. Give me the hearts. I love church activities, but I can't sit during a church sermon. I understand. I actually do like. I liked all the aspects of church except for the length of time that you spend in there and some of the folks. I really enjoyed church, but I'm gonna follow because I'm doing this today, I'm going to follow kind of the format I was going to do on the show. I was going to follow the format of a church sermon as my thing. So our opening prayer, we're going to start with our opening prayer. Again, not praying to God, but I do pray that all of you are well. I pray that whatever we say today finds you well. It does not offend. I want to definitely share my views, and I pray also that you will share yours with me openly and without judgment, because we are coming from different places and we'll be going different places as we depart. So that is, my version of an opening prayer. I do want to start with a hymn. I do want to start with the hymnal. Hopefully, tell me if you can hear this. Y'all know how ignorant I am. So today is May 1st. So let me know if y'all can hear this. And yes, I'm probably going to hell for this.
All night we high, get up the back to where I give up my nigga to give us some yo, double up, nigga, what you need? We got weed, you need your dick, for the green league. Give it up for the first show, but it lay low, cause the pump up week when it rolls so low. can't get away, but it's all stay, yeah, yo, keep your bankroll. We're having a celebration, let us stay high. You can never leave, but it's time to grind. I'm down for mine, crime after crime. From the creep to the back, cause mom's got a grab on the grill. If we got the flow, you know it's the first of the one, and my nigga, we chills for real. Wake up, wake up, wake up, it's wake up, wake up, yeah,
Real quick, we gotta get up, wake up, wake up. It's the first of the month. That is our first hymn, our opening hymn on here Monday, Sunday, May the 1st. First of the month. That's our first hymn for the night, for the day, for the morning, wherever you are. I don't know. What is up, Marcus, man? What is up, Marcus? Critically sober checking in. Yeah, I'm sober too, man. I know I say critically drinking, but I stay kind of dry. Church folks be all in your business. Yeah. If you're not praying to God, then you're praying to the devil. See. I can't mess with AR, man, because he's strange. Nah, it's a thing. We had church last night. Y'all had church last night, JP? I missed it. There was an echo. Y'all forgot to close my mic. I have an audio router now. So I'm using Voice Meter Banana to route the audio. And I'm forgetting that it can route audio directly into StreamYard without needing my mic open. So I had that double up going on. So good morning from AR to JP. That was just me. All right. Any other hymns? We need to get any other hymns out. Anybody have any requests for any hymns? No, I need to hit Jesus Walks. The muscle memory can get rusty. Yeah. Church in your business to keep you out of theirs. Voice Meter Banana. Yes, that is a software. Let me pull that up. I'm gonna just show the screen really quickly. Bum. Give me a second. Boom. And see, on here you can have like a little mixer board. You can have preloaded audio here. You can change the volume. This is my microphone here. This is the audio out coming from my systems. For some, it splits them, and it always swaps them. I had speakers in the aux out, but it wasn't really the aux out. I mean, because they whichever audio is first. If I'm playing like a YouTube video, it'll start on speakers. But if I have a second audio source, it'll come to the out, and sometimes it'll flip back and forth. It's actually free. Voice Meter Banana is free, absolutely free 99, freemium. So that's why I love it. It took a minute to get set up. It took a minute to figure that out, but I can now separate my audio. I have the preloaded audio where I can play background music without StreamYard, and I can still talk through the mic, and I can still have like a second screen up, and then you can get audio from it, and it all can come in here. So I definitely love that. What's up with these women that know these pastors are scamming and still pay him as long as he says things that makes them feel good? Hey, that's something to think about, AR. Yeah, I mean, because that's something a lot of us do. A lot of us pay to have our feelings tickled. So a lot of us pay to feel good. I mean, shoot, I used to work at JCPenney. One of their things was I can't remember tag, but they had a tagline about feeling. When it fits, you feel it, or something like that. So it's more about the feeling. What's up, Apex Alpha Cent? I appreciate you for being in here. What's the cost? Yeah, free 99. Yes, Tadars. Yeah, don't need Tadars in Echo. But I do love Voice Meter Banana now that I've figured it out and how to get the outs and ins and not get it's complicated, but I like it now that I have finally figured it out. But since we had no other hymns to go over, I did want to get to our testimony section. We're going to get the testimonies. Everybody loves testimonies in church, but man, I definitely wanted to shout out all of the people who have been having a convergence of ideas. Kauai Bree, JP, the matriarch, talked about church and what other aspects of church there are. JP's post inspired it. I know I had a conversation with Kauai Bree, and I landed on that, man, the absence of religion, the effective religion in our lives, how the Black church used to play such a prominent role in our community, and the absence of that has left a bigger hole than we thought. Now, I know organized religion has had a lot of things, like AR alluded to, a lot of scammers, a lot of what they call it, what they used to call them, like pulpit pimps or something like that. I mean, so there was a lot of stuff like that going on. So I do understand there was a lot of negative that happened, but inside and because of the church, during the church. But I see, or I believe now, that a lot of issues have arisen because of the absence of it. Not just the spiritual center. I think most of it was a system that guided people. And without that guidance, a lot of people are lost. Because I think more people are sheep than we thought. I thought with information, the information age, it would like free a lot of people's minds. But I think some people just, the bulk of humanity is just not capable of being free. I think there are a lot of sheep. The Bible used that imagery of the sheep and the shepherd. I think a lot of us are sheep, and I think the people that wrote the Bible knew that. Most of us cannot live without some sort system to guide us. It gets chaotic. So that's what I'm thinking. What's up with so-called church people being caught on camera and compromised? Because they're people. And that's something that the Bible also taught me too, is that at the end of the day, we're still all people. We're still going to mess up. That is also one of the things I think is missing in the absence of the church, is that built-in humility. You know, where it said like your righteousness is as a filthy rag. So I think stuff like that is definitely the built-in humbling of yourself that at least Christianity preached. I don't know about a lot of the other religions, but I know in the Black church that was something in the Bible. Even though we had a weird mental schism within the church. It was like my grandmother used the word haughty. We had a haughty spirit. You know, we dress up and be our finest, but we're also supposed to embrace humility. So we definitely had like a little duality at play at the time. But that is it for me. I wanted to give my acknowledgments. The announcements today, the announcements, tomorrow's show. Actually, I wasn't planning on doing today's show. This was just something I watched a video actually about music. It was actually about Kendrick Lamar. And it talked about, no, that was the one before Kendrick. It was about music still. But they were talking about why so many singers today really can't sing. And this is what piqued my interest. It talked about how a lot of the yesterday's singers by 20, they had their 10,000 hours in of mastery. Through school and through the churches, they had gained so many hours of refinement and practice and rehearsal to develop their craft. So by age 20, they were professionals. And that's something a lot of people are not getting. Musicians, singers, they're not getting a lot of the reps through school and church anymore. So the institutions aren't practicing the same. So people aren't developing the same. So when I saw that unintended consequence of our singing even being developed, you know, Whitney, who am I thinking of? Respect, Aretha Franklin, Mahalia Jackson. So many people came through the church. I mean, so many people developed in the church system or school that even our music is suffering in quality because people aren't developing the same way. And I didn't even notice that as an unintended consequence of the fewer people attending and practicing the church as we used to, do it. People don't church the same way we used to church. You know, you be there morning, noon, and night, 3-4 days a week. So, I mean, it's definitely different. To AR's question, it's called prosperity preaching. Yeah, that has been the new evolution. I think, man, it's funny. That term, prosperity preaching, is like a kinder, gentler term of what is called a pulpit pimping. I mean, that's something to think about. But I did want to get into the unintended consequences of this. Definitely give me your contributions. But the question of the day is, what are the unintended consequences of a world and a society that is without and devoid of true religion, like true religious practice, devout religious practice? I do want to know what you guys think about that. Because a lot of things, I knew some things. I mean, some things became evident. I mean, because one thing, you have to do something with your time. I mean, that's first and foremost. What do you do with that time that you recapture? I mean, if all of a sudden you're not spending Sundays, Bible study, fellowship, men's or women's meetings, missions, VBS. Once you get all that time back, what are you doing with it? What's filling up that space? I was watching another video altogether, not involving religion at all, but it's the same principle to me. There's a guy, Casual Geographic, and he did a video on like Jenga, an ecosystem Jenga, how when you remove a keystone animal, how the entire ecosystem can fall out of balance and almost collapse. The wolves in Wyoming, in Yellowstone, when they were taken out, how the elk, of course, decimated I can't think of the foliage and all that stuff. If you remove starfish from a beach, the mussels can take it over and kill off biodiversity. There are so many things. Even on the ocean floor, I can't remember. There were two creatures, but both of them eat something that eats the kelp, and you need healthy kelp. It looks like my YouTube video stopped. Give me a second. Are you guys still hearing me? Okay, it kicked back on. I don't know what's going on with it. But anyway, if you break the chain, if something gets out of balance, it can throw everything else off. So if everything's thrown off by, if you remove the church, and I think that was a keystone, because it played so many important roles. We talked about it on JP's page. I mean, it was not just a spiritual center, but it was a networking and social center. It was a place of counseling and therapy. I mean, it was a community organization hub, food bank, clothing drives. I mean, there's so many roles that churches play in our lives. People, of course, were married and not buried there, but you had funeral services. So a lot of our lives played out in and around the church coming up. And what happens when you take all of that out? Like you said, the musical development, people that were in the choir or played instruments, learned those things. I know my nephew was learning to play piano in the church. When you lose all of that, like a coalescence, a place where everybody gathered. And so you had, of course, obvious, you had it was like a self-contained village of sorts. So people could contribute to each other's lives in a meaningful way. Everybody allegedly was there for a positive reason, a shared reason, a common goal. Then you have, it should be a safe space. You can bring your children there and they can get mentoring, and they have good role models, both men and women, that are just not their parents and siblings and aunts and uncles. I mean, you get a wider array of personalities that they can grow from. I mean, there are so many things that the church provided that you can then lose once the church is no longer a part of our lives. So that was something I thought was very interesting. Again, I went over JP's post, and then Quiet Bree, I can't even remember the exact discussion, but I know it landed to me like, you know what? There's so many things that the church provided. I know one of the topics we talked about was shadow work. And I know that inside church in the Bible, you externalize it to Satan and the devil and spiritual principles. But there is a lot of dealing with the darker nature of humanity that you even get through church. When you talk about this swindling that happened to Jacob and that Jacob did, when you talk about the betrayal or the denial from the apostles, you talk about and go over the darker natures of the lustful nature of Samson. So you talk about some of the shadow areas of humanity, and you deal with those and how to overcome them in church. I know some of the things become a little, what do you call it? Almost like a cliche, like pray over, pray it away. I mean, 'cause not everything is taken up by prayer. Even the Bible talks of that. Even about Jesus, told the disciples some things are by prayer and fasting. And I mean, everything's going to have different costs to it, costs associated. Even if you look at atonement in the Old Testament, there were different levels of atonement, different sacrifices that had to be made in specific ways. So everything has a cost, and every cost is different depending on what you're talking about. But it spoke to the darker nature of humanity and our tendencies and the things we would get ourselves into. So I think the church definitely played an important role in development of people individually and as the group as a whole. I do see a lot of people might have moved on. I'm not getting a lot of feedback from the chat to let me know what you guys are thinking, but I mean, I did want to know, what are your thoughts? Has the absence of church left us in a poor position? Do you think that's played a part in why so many of our families are broken and no longer together? Or do you think it's the opposite, because our families are broken and that's what killed off the church? I mean, is it the chicken or the egg? Are they even related? But what are your guys' thoughts? I do want to know. Does anybody want to come up and talk to me, or am I going to be talking alone? Well, you know, I guess I don't have to be up here long today. But I mean, I did want to have a conversation about that, and you know, it's a little hard to converse with yourself. I talk to myself when there's no one to talk to. But yeah, I do think society is in a lot of crisis, and I think church, a properly formed religion, could solve a lot of that. There would have to be some safeguards though, because like AR talked about, there is a lot of financial impropriety, I guess would be the kindest way to say it. Then in certain churches, you know, the Catholic Church is well known, but I know it's not spoken of. But in the Black church, there's a lot of sexual immorality and impropriety. You know, so I mean, there would have to be safeguards for people to feel comfortable to return to the worship centers, even as a social village, so to speak. So I do think we need to, but I do think as humanity goes on, we're losing touch with so many basics that I think can be gained from spending time with the religious practice. And I don't even necessarily say it has to be Christianity. I think Judaism, I think Buddhism, I think Islam, all of them could have positive impacts to develop a code and culture. Even the principles of Ma'at, I know Ma'at speaks, talks about the principles of Ma'at. I think it's 42 of those. We need something to adopt, to align, to shape our lives around, because right now we're living chaotically. The liberalism, the permissiveness, I think paralysis of choice, you know, the paradox of choice. I know choice paralysis or paradox of choice. We have too many options. So I think we're overwhelmed. I think restricting our options, and I know like even when we talk about politics, we always talk about the two-party system. I think we had just like 100 choices. We couldn't handle it. I think our choices do need to be limited to a smaller spectrum to allow us the opportunity to inform ourselves, because the more endless the choice, the more information we have to gather, and the more time that consumes, the less likely we're going to do it. So I think we do need to have some sort of structure, because all of the opportunities that we have, I think, are overwhelming us, and we're making some poor decisions. But if nobody else has an opinion on that, I will let it go for now and just ask this last question. I'll ask this last question. How do you yourselves fill the void from a guided spiritual system? Or do you even feel a void? Do you even FEEL? Do you even have a void? Do you feel that something's missing in your life? So answer me that question. Throw it in the chat. Throw it in the comments after the stream ends. But if nobody else has anything, I guess we can close out, and I will just say tomorrow. What I will be talking about tomorrow will be I did want to have, I don't even know what prompted it. Yeah, they go, Nova, you are the void. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think you might be. You are the void. But tomorrow, what I'm going to be talking about, if you saw the thumbnail, everybody needs a little KFC. I wanted to have like a kid-friendly conversation. One where I kind of talked about the principles from a child's level. So it was completely accessible. I didn't want to have any complaints about that. But the second would be I wanted to have a conversation with like clean language. So, I mean, you know, just clean. It's going to be clean. Just PG6. You know, it's going to be completely clean. I'm not going to play my little clips like read, you know, none of that. So I will be trying to have a clean show tomorrow. It's for the kids. It's for the kids. But we're just talking about love. Just talking about love. I'm going to be going from two sources. Willie Dean's book. Willie Dean had a book, and I purchased it. You know, I try to support. I purchased, and it's a brilliant book, because actually what he did, the love languages, the 5 love languages. That book, I read that. KFC does sound like a good way to fill the void. When I bought that book from Willie Dean, I read it, and I immediately saw that he was talking about the 5 love languages and had adapted it for children, so even a child could understand it. So I was like, wow. That blew me away because I thought, it was high concept that a lot of adults still struggle that love languages are different. Um, a lot of people even push back on the idea that love languages are even a necessary concept to understand. But that's, to me, that's saying that people don't like different things. If you can accept that people like different things, I'm pretty sure that you should be able to also understand that love languages might be different because people like different things and they also are have an aversion to or do not like different things. So I might like one thing, you might hate it. One man's trash is another man's treasure. Don't yuck my yum. All those things come from people like different things, and people are allergic to different things. People have different responses. We're built different. So love languages are also different. And to be able to explain that in a way a child can understand, a 5 or 6, man, I thought that was. So I spent time and money on the real book way back in the day. And I wish the children's book was so much simpler. So much simpler and a shorter read, of course, because it's a children's book. The second source I'll be reading from tomorrow and going off of is actually what triggered me. And speaking of Unchurched, and what was my reading of the Bible. So I'll be going over 2 Corinthians 13, I believe it is. Let me just pull that up real quick. Sorry. Why am I saying sorry? I don't owe you an apology. 1 Corinthians 13. 1 Corinthians 13. See, glad I looked. I was about to misinform you guys. So Willie Dean's book on love and 1 Corinthians 13 are the two sources I'll be pulling from. And the reason I'm going over 1 Corinthians 13 tomorrow is because it was what helped me realize that I did not love a lot of people. I honestly didn't. Like if this was a checklist of what love looked like, I was failing. I was using the word love way too loosely. So I learned a different idea of love. A lot of times we can't understand a concept until we have language for it. And I couldn't fully understand love until I had language for it. And again, going to Unchurched and structure, the Bible had a lot of structure for exactly what love was and was not. So I got a lot from that, and it made me change the way I use the word love, who I said it to, and how often, because I had to learn a new definition for love, and I had to learn to love people in the way of a brotherly love. Like I love you as a human being, and I want what's best for you in your life. Even if you're trying to harm me, I want you to go in peace, and I will defend myself. But like things like that, I'll defend myself or protect my feelings or my position, but I'll still want you to thrive and live as a human. But I will hope for you the best. Like that kind of like that blanket love. I had to learn to adopt that and adapt that as a part of my way. Because man, I'm an extremely petty person. Some of you know that. I'm extremely petty and vindictive. Oh my God, it was terrible. I was consumed with anger. But when I started reading the Bible for myself, one of the things I did want to go that was transformative for me was an understanding of love, what it actually meant. And once I knew who I loved, I could see then who I did not love, who I did not love in a fullness, who I did not love. Because people talk about what there is no such thing. I've heard that there's no such thing as unconditional love. I've had unconditional. There are people I have unconditional love for. Hey, Dawn, Frank, it's been a long time, but it is a pleasure to see you. I know that so many people said that unconditional love doesn't exist. I do know people. I want to separate the two. I had to learn that I have unconditional love for a few people. It's very limited, but what I don't have is unconditional relationship. There are conditions to me being in a relationship with you, but my love doesn't have any strings attached. Like my nephew, I have an ex. There's nothing that they could do to make me stop loving them, but there are things they can do that will drive a wedge in the relationship, and where I won't be having continued relationship with them. I'm in the midst of that now. So there are people that if they do not respond in a certain way to your boundaries or your standards, that you can't have them in your life, but you can still love them. So again, that's why tomorrow I'll be going over again. If that's not your thing, that's cool. Tomorrow I'll be going over the Willie Dean's book and 1 Corinthians 13 to determine who do you love, because I really believe a lot of us use love in a way loosely, and we don't actually love the people that we say we do. And getting a handle on that, I think, would be beneficial for a lot of us. That way we're not telling people we love them, so they set expectations based on you saying that you love them, and you actually don't. So if we get a handle on that, I think that would be beneficial. I totally agree with you. People you live but can't be near. Yeah, and you love them. You love them dearly, but you can't be close to them. You would. My mother used to say, "Love them from a distance." Ha! Twitch hate you, Bree. Yeah, hey, I get it. I don't even rely on Twitch for the notifications anymore. I really love Discord. I really love Discord because I get all my notifications through Discord. But yeah, that was pretty much it, guys. Yeah, so I mean, Don, Kawhi, Bree, you're coming in at the end. Bree, I did mention you. I know we had to talk. And I know I couldn't remember exactly what it was in relation to, but I know I talked about religion and how it might be necessary. And that's what I was trying to go off of, but I couldn't really remember what I had talked about. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I talked about it. I know, boo. Yeah. I mean, it was really brief. It was brief. I didn't have a whole production. I just wanted to get up and talk a little bit, but nobody wanted to continue the conversation. So I mean, I just said what I said. I just think religion plays such a large role in our lives, and I don't think we understand the extent to which, at least in the Black community for sure, but I think into American society, in United States society, Western society, I think we miss it more than we know. And I'll just tell you briefly what got me even want to do this. I was watching a video on music and musicianship. Oh, it's cool, Brie. Um, if what had happened? He was talking about singers, 20-year-old singers, and he showed a few different people and how all of them they all sounded like Jennifer Hudson, Whitney Houston. I mean, 20-year-olds throughout the ages. But then all of a sudden he showed some 20-year-olds today, and they did not sound as dynamic. Of course, I mean, I know singing styles, music styles have changed, but their vocal range just didn't seem as dynamic. And I think a lot of us noticed that with singers, period. But what he said was a lot of them had spent their time, the 10,000 hour principle. They had spent a lot of time in instruction and refinement in school and in music. So in school and in music, they had spent so much time in rehearsal and practice and performance that they had reached mastery level by the time they were 20. And now by 20, a lot of people just haven't had the same input and output to become as developed in their craft, singing or in the musicians. You know, a lot of people, including my nephew, grew up playing instruments in the church. So I mean, if by 20 you spend 10,000 hours rehearsing and practicing, man, that's an amazing like gift, in so to speak. Because you know you don't pay for that. You're not paying for instruction a lot of times. So a lot of times they're more developed. And I was like, that didn't even, creative arts. So if I didn't even think about that. I'm like, man, if that's even impacted by the absence of, the church, what else are we even missing? I know a lot of people cling to the morality argument. Amen to prenups. Oh, this guy. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people talk about that side. I mean, the morality side. It's not revered the way it should be. But outside of morality, I think, like I talked about JP, the matriarch, she had put up a list, and I responded. There's so many other things that the church provided, including a social center for like social causes. And I mean, it was a food pantry. I mean, sometimes people got help with bills to bridge from one paycheck to another. So definitely the church served a greater purpose than just your spirit. I mean, the church took care of a lot of our families and counseling. And I mean, there was a lot of financial harm, and I guess probably sexual abuse that happened within the church, but it also served a purpose within the community that I think a lot of us did not understand. I think it was a sort of a glue that held a lot of people or families or even communities together in a way we didn't understand. And now that the church is largely ineffective in our lives, we don't need it for a large portion of what we do in a daily life. I think we really lost a lot. The way it is now, it's a shell now. And that's what I'm saying. I know I talked to you about it. I think we need a religion with teeth still. When it was at its peak, what it was, man, how do we recapture a one source? Because I think people are so mentally fragmented by searching for all these different things to fill the void it left. Like when you lose somebody at work and they have to take 3 people to do that one person's job. I think the same thing happened with church. I think we need I think church was like a cell phone. You know how it's like your calendar, it's your alarm clock, it's also a phone, it's your camera. It's where you keep your notes. Like I think church was like the cell phone now, where it serves so many purposes that were vital, and now we're having to get all these different things separately. We're regressing in that way. Instead of having the cell phone, now we have to get a camera, a calendar. We have to. We're going backwards in that space, societally. I think church was really like a multi-tool. You know what I'm saying? It served. It was multi-purpose. And yeah, the metaverse can save us. Hey, Bree, if I have to see the receipts, Bree. I need a little bit more evidence. I need more evidence. I need some evidence that the metaverse can save us. But if that's a place we can all congregate, I know there's going to be a barrier of technology and cost for a long time for a lot of people in my demographic. So I do wonder how long it would take to save us. I wonder what would save us first, metaverse or the second coming of the Christ. maybe Jesus will come back in the metaverse. I don't know. The metaverse can be a great place for creative outlets. The creatives will thrive from it. Now, I do believe that. I do believe this new technological front, this new generation, I think they'll be fine. The new generation, I think they'll be fine. I'm worried about us. I'm selfish. I think the new generation, they'll be fine. I think they're adapting to the current conditions, and they will have it figured out for themselves. But for us, man, it seems like we're struggling. Like so many people online, whether it's relationships or not, we just seem to be angry and hurting. I think we need what the church gave. We need a place to heal. The new generation, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be free. I think they'll be able to shape the world in their image. Some of y'all, some of us. Yeah, no, I know you're not included. You're the unicorn. But I mean, if you look when I look around online, I see a lot of people hurting. And I can't help them. I can't help them all. What's my motto? I can't help them all. And Harris Tribe Media. He said brought it up yesterday. My motto is to
save one. What? Save one person.
Yeah, the millennials need to evolve. And I'm like the last of the Gen X, so I'm not even a millennial. I missed that. I think the millennial. I don't know the groups either. The Zillennials, I think they'll be fine. The Gen Zers, I think they'll be fine. Millennials, I don't know if they're struggling or not. I think that's my little sister. I know she's struggling. I don't know if they're all struggling. I'm not that tapped into the millennials. Yeah. Man, Gen X is struggling. Yes. That's what I know Gen X is struggling. You generally don't like us. I understand. Because we're the miserable folks. We don't have the power our parents had, and we're not as adept at technology as our kids. So we're like stuck in the middle. The old world hasn't let go of control, and the new world has full autonomy over their new digital world, and we don't have either. Like we don't have the power, and we don't have the understanding to have the access. And I think we're afraid of either end. Yeah, see, you gonna quit disparaging my generation, Bree? You gonna quit? We ain't that toxic. We bad. We are messed up. But yeah, my generation is messed up. I think at the high end, I think you have people like I think Kevin Samuels. I think he says he's Gen X. I can't remember. I don't know the age. So I was born in '79. So trash. Bree. See, we about to. You know what? But it's good to have somebody trolling. I love it. You gonna quit trolling my generation? Cause y'all ain't that great yourselves. I don't even know what generation you in. I don't know the labels, but you something, and whatever you is, it ain't that hot either. Your generation is trash too. We're all trash. Just in a different. Your mom is a boomer. Oh, them boomers. Whoa, them boomers is a handful. Woo! Woo! Have I met us? Yes. I've met us. We are a hot mess. We are a mess. Yeah, the boomers. Yeah. See, the boomers are the ones that'll not tell you some important information. Dog, they will set you up for failure because they won't tell you some important information because it looks bad on some group of people. I didn't want to tell you because I thought it would hurt you. You ain't gonna tell me that there was a cliff in front of me. Now I'm hurt because I fell off the cliff. Like, thanks a lot, boomer. Like that's boomers. And silent generation was worse because they'll take it to their grave. You just never know. You just be walking off cliffs all your life. Like, grandma didn't tell me there was a cliff there. So yeah, boomer be watching you for help for sport. That's how it feels. That's how it feels, definitely. But but that was what I was talking about, Bree. Dawn. I was just talking about how church, the absence of it, it kind of left a void. And I don't know exactly what could fill it. I don't know if we need to take the best of church. I don't know if we need to just adapt something new. But I do think there is a need for us that are still caught in between generations. I think the X, that unknown. I think we've unknown too much. I think there's too much we haven't figured out. I think so. Gen X, again, I know the next generation, I think they'll be fine. I mean, my nephew is thriving. And and the boomers, they've kind of just full on embraced religion and they're just going to die with them in Jesus. But there's in between, man. Like my older sister, I think she's X. She's still an X. She just does not. She hasn't embraced the religion full on, like the full 100% blind faith. But she cannot embrace the new world either. And I know that's a struggle for a lot of people. I know that's a struggle. Gen X hate everybody. We don't hate everybody, Bree. It's not true. I thought more about what you said about creativity as religion. Yeah, I mean, I really think what you talked about, the Kauai for the culture, embracing a diverse set of values as the freedom of mind, the freedom of thought, as opposed to having one box of religion. I mean, that really could be a thing. I mean, especially for the new generation. But for the Xers, man, I think like I said, I think we're just too caught in the middle. We're still too rigid, like the boomers. We're not as flexible as the Ys and the Zers. But I don't know what we could adopt to feel better in the moment. Because I was watching a video, Bree. Speaking of time passing through us, like I was watching something with Alan Watts, and they were talking about all we have is the now. Like even our past and our future is really only a now, the now that we've already experienced or the now that we will experience. And we try to think of now as a thin line of like now, 0, 0, the yellow thing, 0. But that's not really true. We're always in a state of nowness. So that was a different way to think about that. I was like, because he used the watch analogy, how, the now, the second hand, the now moment is the thinnest hand on the watch, but it's actually the one that always exists. Like the now is actually the entire watch face. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, oh no, another concept to just boom. Yeah. Well, then you are supposed to be a bridge. Oh, Brie, I can't be the bridge. See, I haven't figured out the new stuff. I'm one of the Xers. I can't be the bridge. I'm still confused too. I can just point out the problem. I can just be the town crier. That's it. I don't have a solution. This is how I keep from getting caught in between and shutting down. Because see, I'm still stuck in between too, and I think a lot of us end up in this nebulous spiritualism. I think that's where a lot of us end up, where we reject the rigidity of the boomers or the ones that came before, but we can't have the fluidity of the younger ones, the ones that come after. So between the rigidity and the fluidity, what is there? I mean, because if we were to analogize, solid, liquid, gas, if they're liquid and they're solid, what's in between a solid and a liquid? It's not a gas. I mean, I have to figure that out. I need to spend more time and thought on that. You think of your elders as past me and the young ones as future me. Yeah, I like that. So then they have wisdom to give me and so on. My mom is just me in another multiverse. And I saw another video. It's on a channel. I remember it started with an O, but I can't remember the name. Their concept was that I've heard this two ways. We were all the same God, right? Like we're all an expression of God, or we're all the same entity, but we just have to come as each version of the person. Everybody that's ever lived, we're the same entity. I just came. I'm me as Rashawn right now, but I also came in as Quiet Bree, and that's you. And I also came in as Dawn Frank, and that's Dawn. And I also came in as everybody else. And until I've understood every expression of this existence, I can't ascend to that next level. So we're all the same entity, just getting different versions, different perspectives to understand reality or something like that. But I thought that was an interesting way to look at it too. But it helped me think of my everybody as a person. Like if everybody's me, and that's kind of I think what the whole God Jesus principle was about treating everybody like yourself. Like if each one is an expression of God, the same expression of God, you have that same spark of the divine in you, then I don't want to mistreat you. And especially if you're me, I don't want to mistreat you. So if I treat you like you're me already, I think that's like the same principle just restated. Stuck in the middle, like Michael Jackson said, we are all a possibility in the mind of God. That's the construct. That's the simulation. Each person is an expression. That's what I believe as well. Yeah. I think that's definitely a healthy way. I think there's usefulness to that. And that's what I want. That's what I want Gen X or my people, my tribe to do. I want us to adopt because we have a hard time. And you see it again on this online space when it comes to the relationships. We're trying to hold on to the rigid roles, but trying to move into a fluid space. And we're rejecting both of them. Half of us are rejecting rigidity, half of us are rejecting fluidity. Some of us are rejecting both, and we don't know what to do because we're like caught in the middle, like we said. You're stuck in the middle. I don't know any of the rest of those lyrics. Mama said, Mama said, Makusa. But yeah, we are stuck in the middle, and I don't know a solution for that other than just choosing one way or the other. But it seems to be really hard for us to choose a way because we have the results on the rigidity, and we didn't want it. We didn't like it, so we rejected it. But fluidity, I think, is too scary for us. I mean, like I talked about with the technology, the adaptation, that's too scary for us. This brave new world, the metaverse, we're like, no, it's hard for us to embrace it. We think of it as silly and like NFTs and stuff. I mean, so many of us are just rejecting it. Has to be intentional. We do have to make a choice. Become plasma. Okay, you did say that earlier. Become plasma. So that's, I guess, that state in between. So what would that look like in behavior? What does plasma? So you're not rigid. You're not fluid. You're in some sort of hybrid state. I'm gonna have to look into that because I do believe everything in this universe is analogous to something else. So if the rigidity of thought is like a solid and the fluidity is a liquid, I need to figure out what a plasma thought process looks like. I'm going to have to look up plasma so I can actually contextual analogize. Yeah, that's the word. But yeah, I appreciate that, bro. I'm going to have to figure. Let me write that down too. I don't know. Where's my notepad? I was looking for my pen, but I guess I lost that. Plasma. Boom. So yeah, maybe I'm gonna have to figure out what that is, Bree. And I appreciate you gave me a jumping off point, an entry to the rabbit hole. You have to figure out what that would look like. Cool. So I'll have to look up some chemistry type stuff because I know the stuff is analogous, but trying to analogize is the difficult part. Yeah, me too. I love it. I love it. I loved our conversations too because I love conceptual stuff because I do believe that's where a lot of. But unfortunately, I got challenged yesterday. Like I said, I was watching Alan Watts, and he talked about how sometimes we make things too complicated. And I was like, I reject that idea about making things too complicated because I believe they are they are complicated things. But I think not everything has to be super complicated. Like to analogize what he said, if we just need to flush the toilet, just pull the handle. We don't need an advanced understanding of plumbing and all that stuff to flush a toilet. So I think what he's talking about is the simple things in life. Sometimes we overcomplicate them, but I don't think much of this stuff is simple. Understanding we need more Black philosophers. I agree. I was talking to E Black about that one time. I don't think he caught my idea. What I was trying to say. What I was trying to say was I want the same. I want philosophy and educational materials, but every time I look for it, I end up having to go to a white person for it. And it's not that there's no value in that. It's just every now and then, like we talk about representation matters. You want to see yourself. So people like Neil deGrasse Tyson is very helpful seeing that black astrophysicist. It's good to see yourself, and I'm sure women need the same thing. I think it would be help to see women do so many things. I mean, because we see it all the time. Everybody wants representation. LGBT want LGBT representation. Asian people want Asian representation. I think we need to see pretty much everything in all the flavors and colors. I think we need to see everything that way, because I think that's a point of entry. It's somebody that looks and talks like you. That reminds me of a song lyric. Looks and talks like you. Looks and talks. I don't know. That triggers something. But somebody that looks and talks like you as a point of entry to complicated matters, because you'll assume then that they have your best interest, that they're part of the in group. And yes, detached from slavery. Oh my God. I've been preaching that for a while now. I'm so tired of trauma porn. I'm tired of the slavery narrative. I'm not one of the people that does not believe in slavery or anything. Does it always have to start there? Does it always have to start there? Marcus said, yeah, Neapolitan flavors. Yeah. I think everything, like when you go into a store and they have a particular item of clothing and they have it in all those different sizes and colors. Because everybody, back to a prior point, everybody doesn't like the same thing. Everybody does not like the same thing. Which is why tomorrow I'll be talking about the 5 love languages and love in general. But yeah, I will be adopting the 5 love languages. Just focus on skill acquisitions. Then we go from there. Now that goes to my last conversation, which was about George Washington Carver's The Miseducation of the Negro. Because he talked about industrialization and skill acquisition as a point of entry. I do think that is really not intentionally taking it back to slavery when I bring up George Washington Carver. But I think what you're talking about, Apex, is something we do need to, as a people, on a macro level and a micro level, focus on, is work on the tools to take care of it, like self-sufficiency. We need the skills where we could build and maintain for ourselves. That skill acquisition. We can learn the skills to build and maintain in the system as it exists, but we also need to have the skills and maintain a system that we can build for ourselves and maintain, like just something separate. Like, so if the world were to go down, we can rebuild it ourselves. We need those kind of skills. If your house burned down and you could just rebuild it from scratch, that we need that kind of stuff. If somebody cut off the food chain, the supply chain, we could just grow crops and hunt and, can and all that. We could do all of that ourselves. Those type of skills have value long term. I think too many of us bought into the university system, which only operates if the economy stays in its current form. All the skills we learn that way, those conceptual things, business management, that stuff only works when you have business the way it used to run. Now that so many things are being offshored and switching to AI, and I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with that? But learning how to code AI or create AI, that kind of stuff, solvency. We need to be solvent in more ways than one. We need to be able to work the land. We need to be able to build things, like even if it was just as simple as, and I'm blackifying this one, but like even if we could have adopted or adapted an industry, we could have taken over something by now. If way back in 1930, when George Washington Carver was talking about those type of learning skills, skill progression, if we had just become master plumbers, master electricians, we could have like taken over an industry as the rest of the world shifted away and shifted to university. If we had stayed in a skill set that would not disappear, like we're still going to be running on electricity and we're going to still need indoor plumbing. If we had just stayed there, we could have taken over in a system. We could have taken it over. Yeah. We do not understand it's like hive mentality, or like a colony of ants. Each one's doing their own thing in a way, but it serves a greater purpose towards the whole. So I mean, you eat, but you also feed everybody else at the same time. We should have been doing the same thing with our skill and progression. Instead of everybody going like out for myself, what'll make me the most money? What serves a purpose where I can make money, but it also serves a greater good? So if we had like the system we built, if we had recognized, we could have built it intentionally. So like I said, we could have given ourselves options, like Bria saying. We could have built options into the way we were living. When that's where we're falling in line as opposed to creating a line. There you go, master plumber, Matt, because he lays the pipe. Oh boy, Marcus, you are crazy. I love it though. He lays the pipe. But just imagine if you see the movies. You see the movies and you see like how like the Irish went into the police, Italians went into firefighting. Imagine if black people were like the Masons. Like anytime you needed brick laid, it was almost like 9 times out of 10 a black person, or plumbing or electrician. I mean, there was, I didn't even notice that word in there. I'm a master plumber, 6-figure earner, Mandingo. Mandingo. I didn't even see that word in there somehow. Because he lays the pipe. Woo, Marcus, you crazy. But I love you, bro. I love you. But yeah, I really wish we had been intentional about some of the choices we made. And we don't have to come together to make. I think if we just had a group understanding, we don't have to have a conversation about it. There were certain things, like, again, that's a lot of stuff that comes through the church where information was shared. It was, again, a networking center. So if we were all there, and I wish we had spread information intentionally, but when we get together, a lot of times, like even here online, a lot of times it's more gossip than growth. I hear you though, Rashawn. Same thing. You see, I catch those things, but guess what? A lot of people just focus on taking a day, and I get it. And I just think the day by day could be in service to the month by month and the year by year. Like everything you do, whether you choose to or not, is attached to your future and your past. Like they're connected. So even though what you're doing today is important for you today, it can also be done in service to tomorrow as well. And I'll just use me as a point of entry to that. Like I'm currently, and I should have been on this earlier. That's a good mindset, but that's not a good mindset. Which one? What's not a good mindset? You must plan and be intentional and be able to pivot when things change. Absolutely. You have to be able to pivot, but it would be nice to be able to be intentional. We are great engineers and mathematicians, which makes, and see, this is what I'm saying. Oh my gosh. I was thinking about this the other day because my sister, I know I talk about her on the negative side, but what she is, she's also really brilliant. I was having a conversation with Bree about different types of intelligence. My sister can taste something and replicate it like after a couple of attempts. Like, and that's, to me, there's some kind of brilliance in there. Like you can taste them, I think that has this, and this, and try it. No, it's still missing something. And the third time, she's got it down pat. Like, and that's like some form of engineering, like reverse engineering something. So in her mind, she can reverse engineer things and reconstruct them. I know that's a skill set that can be translated. She may not be technological with it. Like somebody like you, Apex, you might be able to break down somebody's code and recreate it or adapt it to fit whatever you're doing. And somebody can do that with robotics. They can take something apart and rebuild it and adapt it. We can do that with different concepts. The same type of engineering can be done on multiple levels of existence. And the mathematics too. Like some people have internal mathematics with her and measurements. She doesn't do the mathematics 2/3 cup of this. She can figure it out in her head. And I know when I used to be in school, my math, I couldn't do the math on paper. I could work it out in my head, but if you asked me to do the steps step by step, I couldn't do it for whatever reason. So there is some sort of thing. There are things that we have intelligences in that translate, and we don't have people to teach us how to operate those into the world. Like I know I didn't have anybody to tell me to go into engineering. or mathematics when I was young. Nobody was steering me in that direction. So we need people who are telling you things like you must plan and be intentional, because nobody was telling me that when I was young, and be able to pivot when things change. I never got a. Those are just 2 lines of a chat, and I never got instruction like that as a kid, as a young man. Yeah, day to day, that's not a good mindset. But day to day, with an understanding of the rest of the days that are going to come to pass later, that's where at least I think that's doable. Even if you have, I need to eat today. I need to eat today, but I also know that I'm going to need to eat tomorrow. I think that's something we could adopt. Even people at the lowest level who are struggling to survive, going to food pantries or got an EBT card, even on that level, I think it's not too much of a stretch to say, what am I going to do to eat today, and how am I going to eat tomorrow? And to stretch that one day at a time. How am I going to eat today and tomorrow? But what am I going to do to set myself up for next week? I think that's doable conceptually, because you're not trying to expand yourself to a 5-year plan. You're just going out to next week. You know what you're doing today, and that's scalability. I think we can teach scalability on a micro level to people who are day to day, to get them to think about 2 days, to think about 7 days, to think about 2 weeks. So I really think there's a way to do it. I just don't know exactly how. But I know somebody does, because there's a lot of brilliant people out here. I know somebody does. I was told that when I was in a depressed state, or something you tell highly neurotic personality types. Day to day is stress trauma. So I believe that. I do believe that. And I think, though, one way I know a lot of people deal with stress and trauma by diving into work. And I know that's not a healthy way, but you can sometimes be productive in spite of. And I think teaching like not just day to day, one day to the next, like multi-day. I'm using a word I don't need to use, like multi-day modality. Like we need to, like just today and tomorrow, and then today, tomorrow, and the next day. I think we can stretch people slowly. Like we were watching pulling the handles. We got to stretch people slowly so they don't break. The brilliance is in our genetics. Since we started mathematics, which led to everything we have now. Also, we are very visual, which makes us very observant. Saying it verbally or writing it is not how doers function. Yeah, my sister, boy. Yeah, you scale it. Day to day, week to week, month to month, and year to year. But people saying that, but there's got to be a way to move them. And I don't think that's what I'm saying. I don't think anybody's even coaching them. Coaching or coaxing, either way you want to look at it. I don't think anybody, because again, I didn't have that. I know if I didn't have it, somebody else didn't have it either. I mean, if I didn't have it, my siblings didn't have it. If me and my siblings didn't have it, my mother didn't have it. If she didn't have it, her mother and father probably didn't have it. Like if it's not being passed down, the way to scale up from day to day, if that, it's probably not happening for a lot of people, because if you don't have it, you can't give it. So yeah, you have to be taught that. So there's got to be some sort of outreach where people are, and outreach is a function of the church. No, but I mean, I really do think we lost so much, because we lost a center where you had a lot of elders and a lot of master teachers. There was so much lost with the great falling away. Yet to be taught. I know people struggle with that based on arguments I hear. Macrocosm and macrocosm is lost upon many. Yeah, as above, so below. I think the way we teach, even in church, because we've started to play more towards people's feelings. I think the instruction has been lost. Because I know I spent the entire lifetime reading the Bible and didn't learn many of the principles that I have now from the Bible, because I wasn't reading for myself and they weren't teaching to the principles. They were teaching like almost like YouTube clips. I mean, they were teaching catchy, cathartic, feel good messages. They weren't giving true, genuine instruction for life, which there is a lot of it in the Bible, and I'm sure of in the other great books of the multiple religions. I'm sure there's a lot to be gained from a lot of them. The Quran, I know a lot of people talk highly of it, and of course, like the Bible, I'm sure it has a lot of positives and negatives, things that contradict each other. But I know if you dive into it, I'm sure there's a lot you can get. Many don't know how to even scale an argument. True. Quiet Bree trying to sound like B9. You're turning a micro into a macro. Yes, I agree with Quiet Bree, but we have to have real conversations without disrespecting each other. Oh my God, thank you. Which means everyone will have to be focused on one common goal, and capitalism goes against that. Yes, that's another problem. Capitalism. I think capitalism has hindered a lot of our growth because the principles, we don't understand that the most successful people blend principles, because at the highest levels, capitalism and socialism kind of merge. They meld. Like I am B9. Like all of our biggest sports league, they blend socialism and capitalism. And I think being so beholden to one, capitalism holsters without capital, which is us. Being so one-sided is always bad. If there's an what is that called, an inverse? If there's something that could even be considered a binary choice, I think the balance is probably closest to the most ideal state. Because all socialism, everybody talks about how socialism is bad and it's never had good outcomes, but look at capitalism. Look how many people it's leaving behind. But I think some version of both, which we do try to do, but we do it poorly here in the United States. We, the social systems, the social safety nets, man, they're terrible. We give our energy, time, and resources to these people. These people, no one becomes rich without a willing audience. That's the truth. We follow Pied Pipers. We just need to be intentional about who we give our energy to. Very much so. And everybody, what she's trying to tell you, in other words, is you need to give your energy to me. I need to be made rich through you. If when you lift me up, see, I'm the rising tide, and you lift up the tide, I'll lift all the boats. See, if you make me rich, I'll bring you all with me. So trust me, I'm not like the other ones. So you made them rich and they left you. If you make me rich, I'll reach back for you. I promise. You hear me? You can trust me. Yeah. I'm just playing, y'all. I'm just playing. If y'all make me rich, I'm leaving too. I'm not gonna lie. I said this early on. You want to really build a circuit, energetically speaking. Absolutely. Absolutely. We do need, and I think that is like when people, I said it jokingly, but people do. When they get their money or they get their, they talk the brain drain. When people get educated, when people get their money, they do leave the circuit. They leave. So that energy and the resources, they leave the group. They leave the pod. They leave the village, the community, whatever way you want to look at it. People do, they fly off. The year before, not B9. Before, not B9. Before, not B9. See, Marcus is slick. I love it. See, the problem is people kill the circuit by putting a wooden block in the middle and hoarding the energy. Wooden block? My family's created a circuit. We also been feeding finance. Yes! And see, that's what I always wanted. Because me and my family, we all have different skills. We all have different skills. And I was like, man, if we, as just our family, if we just did for each other in each of our own strong suits, if I did all of our technology and entertainment, because I'm a Fire Stick guy, everybody could save money there if I was handling that. My sister is a phenomenal cook. If she just handled that. My little sister, man, she was multi-talented. What one area she had best? That's hard to say, but she was good at so many things. She could have just performed in some area. My nephew is brilliant. My nephew's the future. He's the finance guy. We all sucked with money. But my nephew, he's the finance guy. He just turned 21. He's about to pick up, he's trying to make like 90K, 100K this year in Central Ohio, which actually hits like 90K, 100K. he found an apartment on the cheap downtown. Like he's resourceful, intelligent. He's like, as far as our family, he's the evolved form. So I love the fact that he's what he is. But he don't cook. So imagine if his aunt was, feeding him good, wholesome, home cooked food. That's what a family unit is supposed to do. I'm like, man, and that's without the fathers. It's like, man, fathers ain't around. Like his father is dead. My father's off in Mississippi. Like it's just, we could have just looked out for each other with the strengths that we had. The issue was ego. One brother has land, one works in tech. I was healthcare, but now do the social media, branding, and creative powerhouse. Yeah, because you got one coming, Bree. You got one coming. What you showed on your show, I'm like, yo, that's phenomenal. That was that creative and technical skill. Oh my God. Whoo. Okay. And that's beautiful. And see, my older sister, another thing she's brilliant at is connected. She can network with anybody, even like outside of class. Her level of education and socioeconomic level. She can network outside of that. Like she can talk to so many people on whatever level they need to talk to, and I don't understand it because she likes like goofy conversations that I can't hold. Like I like to have like philosophical, intellectual conversations, and she just checks out. But you put her in a networking situation, and there's the potential to know somebody, man, she will work a room, and it just blows my mind. She's so skilled at that. You're a financier, stock guy, yeah. You Renaissance man. So you're all things to all people. So that's how it should be. And the hacker. Hey man, you got a lot going there, bruh. You Mr. Fix It. You are MacGyver. Yeah, so I know who I'm coming to, bruh. But yeah, y'all, I really appreciate y'all rocking out in the chat for the last little bit, because I really think a lot of this stuff that we've lost, we didn't understand how big religion or the church played in our lives, in our families. But we can do with none. Yeah, you can do that without family, but it is a lot more risky, and it's more difficult. Opportunity cost. It's like division of labor. That term from industry, division of labor. If everybody in the family handles a different task, we can get more done. Many hands make light work is another way of saying the same thing. So I really think, bear each other's burden, coming from the Bible, bear each other's burdens. So all these systems, and they say the same thing. It's utilitarian. It's useful. These are useful understandings and concepts that apply whether you're in or out of church. I just think the church centralized, another business term, was a centralized hub for people to meet and share these skills and knowledge. And I really think we miss it more than we know, because it was a larger version of family. Like you're saying, the family was a place where we can share resources and talents and skills. I think the church was like a bigger version of that, with the layer of spirituality added to it. And I think we miss that more than we know. At least, Gen X. Yo, that guy Tubbs, appreciate the follow, sir. Definitely appreciate you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. That's on Twitch gang in the building. I appreciate you all for being over there. Why not share the load? So everybody doing everything on their channel, because I've been working with some other creators, and I'm like, and I've said this so many times, I don't want to be on camera. I don't think I'm that guy. I'm not that guy. Why not share the load, spread it out so we can all become an asset? So I know one person I've helped with a couple thumbnails, but it was just a couple for like one show. Here's my problem though. When I work with people, I kind of need it to be a certain way. I'm a little tweaky like that. I need clarity. I need it to be clear. I would do a philosophy show with you. Sure, hey, I'd be down for that. Now, I don't have as much education as you, because you and Nova, y'all have those terms down pat. Y'all were talking about thisism, thatism, thisism, ism. And I was like, what are you talking about? But I could have looked it all up if I wanted to. instead of forcing it on my channel and my algorithm. No, it's got to be on your Kawaii Breed channel. No, you got to mix it up. You got to diversify your bonds. Yes. But yeah, we can definitely do something on philosophy. I'll definitely look up something that the ism show. Man, you and Nova had it down pat, and it wasn't just the libertarianism argument. Y'all were doing something like postmodernism mixed with something that it was like a few shows before, and y'all were hitting it hard. I'm like, man, I wish I knew what all those terms meant without me going to look them up, because I'm not about to. I'm sorry. I would do it though. V2 philosophy. Hey, we're gonna do it. That's because I want to do it. I don't want to be Jordan Peterson, but I think I'd like to see black people talking about some of the things that he talks about, because I don't. And if anybody else is out there, if you're listening and you've heard somebody black talk about some of the things Jordan Peterson talks about, I'd love to hear it. Love to hear it. Point me in that direction. I still listen to Jordan Peterson, and I would still listen to Jordan Peterson, but I'd love to hear somebody look like me taking philosophical principles and merging it with stuff like The Wire or something, what I'm saying, pop culture references, and just mixing it in. I would love to hear things that connected and resonated with that aspect of myself while still talking about philosophy and religion, things like that. So, man, if you know that person, point them to me. Feed me, Seymour. Yeah. But yeah, I'm about to hop up off of here, y'all. I really appreciate y'all for rocking with me. I got a new collab. Me and Kawhi gonna have to touch on philosophy, Machiavellianism. See, now you being funny. Now you just flexing. I know about Machiavelli a little bit. I think that's the Prince, right? Is that? I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into it. I haven't read everything. I'm not the most read person, but I do read some things. That's going to be next thing. Machiavellianism. Okay. Because I think that's what the 48 Laws of Power was mostly based off of, was Machiavelli. So I will look into that. But yes, thank you, Bree. I appreciate you for being here. Everybody else to pop through. I really appreciate the new follow on Twitch. I'm up into the 40s now, I think, or I'm at 40 on Twitch. I need about 10 more. Man, about 10 more followers, and then I need to get my average views up, and I should have done that. I didn't do my Twitch thing. I'll figure that out. But on Twitch, man, I appreciate it. You were late, but good stream. Thank you, Riza. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you for popping in. But yeah, and you're never late. When you come here, you are always on time. Yeah, you are always on time. You're never late. So don't even worry about it. Because there's always the replay. I was talking about the role that religion played and how its absence has affected us. Yella, woo! Appreciate you for stopping by, my guy. I know I was early for my West Coast people. Everybody from Central, where Yella is, to the West Coast, like M3 and them. I know M3 and them are probably not even up. It's about 9:30 in the morning. Not even up. Yella, what? It's 11:30. Yeah, it's still early for a lot of people. But I was up. And because I don't go to church anymore, I wanted to talk about those of us who are unchurched and the role that plays in our life, or the role it doesn't play, the absence of the roles and the unintended consequences it's had. So, I mean, it was a loose talk. It was a very loose talk, but got into it with Bree. Got into a discussion with Bree about a few different things. So definitely, I appreciate the conversation, everybody. So I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed day. Yeah, bro, you missed it. But again, I was just talking about the absence. It was just a little loose talk. I didn't get into anything heavy. Didn't come with any stats, data, statistics. No, nothing big. But I'm just wondering, man. Like I ask you all. I know I was stumbling there. I was stuttering. That's the stuttering. But what are the unintended consequences of a world without religion? That was the question of the day. And the last question I'm gonna ask you guys on the way out: how have you filled the void of not having a guided spiritual system? Or do you even feel like you have a void? Do you feel like anything is missing in your life by not participating in a guided spiritual system? I know a lot of us will say that we're spiritual, not religious, but what does that mean? I don't even know what that means. So how do you fill that void? Because there's so much other than spirituality that the guided spiritual systems had, because there was a place, a brick and mortar place that you went to. You had the network. I filled it with smoking coffee. but you also filled it with a digital connection. So instead of having to go to a church building, you kind of, these YouTube places are like creating small churches. So in these Twitch places, like we're creating small similar churches where they have their own ethos, where they have their own form and function, where we have their own music, where we have our own visuals, where we have our own catchphrases. These are all mini churches in a way. These little families that we build up. So I mean, yeah, we make we're creating our own fellowship. So I know YouTube, and for a lot of us, feels the void left by church, but it only fills some of them. There's still a lot of them that, church also had things like the kitchen. They open up the kitchen and feed folks, and they had the clothing drive. So there's tangible things that the church has left us without too. When we leave church, we leave that as well. So I mean, so we're getting some of the connection and the networking through these online spaces, but what about some of the physical stuff? What about the social aspect, going into the community and doing outreach? So how do we feel all these things? And just to touch on something, what I first brought up, what really triggered me to want to do this, I was watching a video where they talked about singers and how 20-year-old singers of today are not like 20-year-olds of yesteryear. Like with the Whitneys, the Aretha Franklins, the Mahalia Jacksons, all throughout the ages, 20-year-olds came out polished. And they mentioned that a lot of this has to do with people growing up in church and in school, and their school music programs, choir, chorus, vocal coaching. So you had 10,000 hours of reps and rehearsal and practice and performance singing by the age of 20 if you were involved in church from the age of like 4 and 5. You know what I'm saying? So even our music has been impacted by the lack of participation in church, because so many of our artists have not spent they didn't spend the first 15 years of their life coming up in choir. So their singing skills have not been honed to the degree that they used to be. So if that's an unintended consequence, like what else? Like what else have we missed? What else are we losing out on because we don't attend church like we used to as a group? And I understand, like Quiet Bree talked about, church ain't what it used to be. It's a shell of what it used to be. And a lot of it's been taken over by prosperity preaching, where everybody gets grace and you don't really have to try hard. You know what I'm saying? So I know it's been neutered in a way. Church has. I'm not going to say that the power of God or spirituality has been neutered, but the church itself has been mostly neutered. It's kind of toothless. And a lot of them are whining about how people are out to get them. Everybody's out there. It's an attack on Christianity. And again, I'm talking about, I come from the black church. So when I talk about Christianity and the Bible a lot, that's because that's where I'm from. I can't really speak to Islam. I can't really speak to Buddhism that much. I don't know what's going on there. I didn't spend a lot of time there. But I know in the black church, there's a lot of whining. So, I mean, they feel like victims. So anybody that feels like victim, you can't be both powerful and a victim. So they definitely seem toothless at the moment. But we need something, man. We lost a lot. We lost a lot when the church lost its effectiveness and its cohesiveness. And when we lost that, man, we lost more than we realized. So like Yella said, you filled it with smoking coffee and you built your own fellowship. You built your own fellowship, man. You definitely got a following. You got a core group. I'm one of the believers. But yeah, man, Yella, that's my dude, man. He's cool as heck. So, and y'all rock with me. I really appreciate it. Reason Neil, Simma, the folks that be here and coming through all the time. Quiet Bree, Yella, y'all be popping through supporting the Apex. AR was in here earlier. JP, Marcus, y'all support, man, and I appreciate that. Dawn was here for the first time first time, long time. First time caller, first time, long time. Appreciate it, Dawn. I really appreciate you for stopping by. And I haven't seen Dawn Harden. I haven't seen Dawn Harden in such a long time. Hope she's doing okay. If anybody's seen Sherelle in these streets, I ain't seen Sherelle in a long time. I know she ain't been over here, but I mean, man, it's so many of y'all I've developed a fondness for over the internet, and I wonder how y'all doing. But anyway, let me get up out of here. I ain't got nothing to say. I asked the last question. About to hit y'all with this outro, but in memory of church, everybody, if you can today, go out and
save one. What? Save one person.